Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to showcase the service mode for our Fulgor Milano ranges. We just did a recent trip of the circuit breaker for this range. You do have 5 minutes to get this process completed. So to enter in, we're going to hold our far left and far right buttons together for about 3 to 5 seconds. It's going to activate all of the displays as well as the chime. And then it's going to bring you to test. Here you can see in 15, this is the software selection for a 48-inch range because we have 2 oven cavities, but you might find on yours in N03 and in 13, just make sure that you reference the service manual for the specific range so that you're not selecting the wrong software. If you do select the wrong software and you complete service test, you will need to purchase a new modular LED board for our modular ranges. So keep in mind, you get 1 shot if you do complete the full service test. On this window, I'm going to press menu 1 time. You'll see that N15 begins to flash. This will allow me to change the software selection. Once I've made my selection, I will press menu again. You'll see that it goes back to solid. Give it a few seconds and the menu is going to reset. On this range, it's already been selected, so you'll see that it will come back directly to N15 and now brings us to user. The first few steps through your service menu is just going to be software and board software, and you can go ahead and plus through it. Because we have a 48-inch range, we have a large cavity and a small cavity, so this white dot will illustrate which cavity you're currently reviewing. Here we will find the probe. In this step, if you do not initialize the probe, you won't be able to use the probe going forward. Quick reference, the probe is inside the large cavity oven on the left side wall. You'll take your probe and plug it into the slot. And then once it's plugged in, you can see it is reading a temperature. I do a few seconds of holding the probe in my hand to detect if the temperature is going to go up. You can see we were 65, 70, 75. This test that the probe is good. I'm going to pass through this test and then unplug my probe. So to start the test, this is an S, or it looks like 500. So S00 tests nothing. I'll plus forward to S01 is your light test. S02 is your cooling fan test. S03 is your convection fan test. And remember to follow along through the service menu. S04 is your double line break. This is to ensure that no elements are being engaged without voltage. S05 is going to start our element test. It will begin with the bottom bake element. You can keep the oven door closed for this to allow it to build up some heat. And after about a minute or 2, you can feel in towards the bottom and see if you're getting warmth. S06 is our broil element. The same explanation. You can close the door, give it about a minute or 2, and you'll start to feel that heat coming from the top. As I go to S07, this is your convection fan test. Your convection elements will energize and your fans will kick on. Again, self-explanatory, allow a minute or 2 for heat to build up and then continue forward. S08 is our bonus auxiliary broil element. This is the smaller outside element and again will be engaged. As we go into S09, we start to test our function and temperature knobs. Our first test is going to be our function knob. We're going to turn this clockwise, and as you turn, you'll see that the counter will continue to count. You want to make sure that each function counts up on the display and none of them are skipped. If a number is skipped, you may have a bad encoder, or double check that your knob is correctly seated. Once I get to C08, this is my self clean, and then I go to the final, it goes back to S09. I'll plus forward to S10. This is setting the parameter of your temperature knob. I'm going to begin by turning to the smallest section on my knob. I'm going to press menu to set the parameter on the knob at 170 and then go to the largest end, which will be 550, and set my parameter. This is just setting where the temperature is on the dial to make sure that 170 is on the smallest end, 550 is on the largest end. Push that into self clean, it recognizes with CLN, and then back to off. Our final test is the internal temperature probe on S11. If you press menu, it will show the active temperature of the probe. If you've been preheating this for a couple of minutes, let's say to 350, it says the preheat is done. You can then enter into this menu, go to this step, S11, press menu, and see how accurate your internal probe is. I'm going to just take a second to remind you that we do trust the probe in this range more than we would trust an analog thermometer. This is going to be the best test to test the true accuracy of your temp probe. You must press menu again to go back to the selection, and then you can continue forward. Now you can see that this arrow has bumped to the left to indicate we would test our small oven. The steps are repeated. We're not going to go ahead and complete on the small oven. You would just go through as normal and test each and every function. And again, just to show, menu detects the temperature of that probe as well. Once we go to our final step, you'll see end. This is important. Once you have end, you're going to come back to your display, holding your two outside buttons for 3 to 5 seconds. And it's going to flash on off. This is now your time to go and trip the breaker again for 5 to 10 seconds, or if you have access to the plug, go ahead and unplug it, and then your unit will boot up as normal. Thanks for joining, guys.